Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we got an amazing featherweight matchup announced. We are getting Bryce Mitchell versus Movsar Evloev, and I wanted to give you guys my reaction as well as an early prediction. And this is an amazing featherweight fight that helps, define what's going on in the top 10 of the featherweight division. But also yesterday, there was another amazing top 10 featherweight fight announcement. We're going to talk about that fight towards the end of the video, and also I'm going to give you an early prediction for that fight as well. So Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev, this is an amazing fight. This is a fight that I've wanted to see for a few months now. This is a fight that I've called for. It makes perfect sense. You look at the UFC rankings, Bryce Mitchell is currently ranked number 9. Movsar Evloev is currently ranked number 10. And I know a lot of people may not be super familiar with both these guys, particular Movsar Evloev. I feel like a lot of people don't know his name. He flies under the radar a bit. But both of these guys, Bryce Mitchell and Movsar Evloev, I believe can be future challengers for the featherweight title, whether it's Volkanovski or someone else at the top. And these are two guys who have looked really good. They haven't fought the best competition. Both of them got their biggest test in their last fight, and they passed it with flying colors. And both of them, I believe, are elite level featherweights. And now they're fighting to get to that next step. And I believe the winner of this fight will most likely be in some sort of number 1 contender fight, most likely in their next fight. The division is a little bit logjam right now, but stylistically, I mean, you could not get a better fight between, Mitchell, he's a great grappler, great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu. Movsar Evloev, great grappler, great wrestler, great jiu-jitsu as well. This is a very compelling matchup. Both guys' stand-up is constantly improving, constantly evolving. And this is a fight, honestly, I know it's going to fly under the radar a little bit, but this is one of my favorite non-title fights for the rest of the year. I mean, I absolutely love this matchup. And I believe had we had more time, another year or two down the line, this would almost definitely be a number 1 contender fight. And I know you're looking at the rankings, number 10, number 9. Doesn't seem all that threatening. But I believe both these guys are future, at least title challengers in the 145-pound division. And you look at their last fights, Bryce Mitchell, his last fight was against Edson Barboza at UFC 272. I actually thought Edson Barboza was going to starch Bryce Mitchell. I thought Edson Barboza has excellent takedown defense. And the striking differential between Barboza and Mitchell, Barboza is world-class better than Bryce Mitchell on the feet. And I thought Barboza would go out there, stuff the takedowns, and brutally TKO Bryce Mitchell. That's not what happened at all. My prediction couldn't have been more way off. Bryce Mitchell went out there and was able to out-grapple Edson Barboza, who I know he's been out-grappled in the past, but it's only been by the elite of the elite. Khabib Nurmagomedov comes to mind. Outside of that, it's like he's good at stuffing takedowns, and he's a very good, dangerous striker. Bryce Mitchell went out there and made him look like he didn't even belong, was able to take him down, wear him down, was landing on the feet as well because Barboza was so worried about the takedown. And this is Bryce Mitchell's biggest win. He's undefeated in MMA. He's 15-0. The fight before that, he beat Andre Fili. That's a decent win, but not the greatest win. Before that, Charles Rosa. So again, doesn't have the greatest resume at all. He's only been in the UFC since 2018. He's only been in the UFC for 4 years. He's making his way slowly up the ranks. I'll never forget when he got that twister against Matt Sales back in December of 2019. I was there live for that. Insane. And Bryce Mitchell has amazing submission ability. 15 wins, 9 of those wins are via submission. And then you got Movsar Evloev, who in his last fight, and I did a prediction for this fight as well, and I picked Movsar Evloev because I believe in Evloev's skill set, went out there and dominated Dan Ige. And not only did he dominate him with the grappling, he dominated him with the striking as well. This was back in June of this year. And Dan Ige, I know Dan Ige has kind of slipped. He's fallen in the rankings. He's currently number 11 in the rankings. Dan Ige could easily be a top 5 UFC featherweight right now. And I'll tell you why. Because I thought Dan Ige arguably beat Josh Emmett. They fought back at UFC 269 December of last year. So not that long ago. I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. The fight was very close. I thought Dan Ige could have got that decision. Josh Emmett, most people consider Josh Emmett the uncrowned number 1 contender right now for the 145-pound title shot. So that's how close, had Dan Ige not lost that fight, had he got that decision in a very close fight, when Movsar would have beat him, but they probably wouldn't even fought because, how high Ige would have been ranked, and he would have been coming off a win. But that just goes to show how good, and I believe Dan Ige is criminally underrated for a long time. I know he's on the downturn of his career, but Movsar went out there and just put a dominant performance. Like, I don't ever remember anybody doing that to Dan Ige in the past. Even Dan Ige, I think he fought Barboza in the past. He's fought a few quality guys. And I don't remember anybody dominating him in the capacity that Movsar was able to dominate him. He was landing good shots on the feet. He was busting him up. He was landing flying knees. He was out grappling him. He just made Dan Ige look like he was one of these guys coming off the Contender Series. That was their first fight in the UFC after the Contender Series. That's what he made Dan Ige look like, who arguably just beat Josh Emmett, who's in line for a title shot right now. So this fight is super compelling. I'm really looking forward to it. And Movsar Evloev is 16-0. He's never lost in his pro MMA career either. This is two undefeated UFC featherweight prospects ranked in the top 10. Both have looked unbelievable. Both are future title contenders. And we're getting them against each other, arguably in their prime or very close to their prime. And one thing I always look for when I look for future title contenders is guys who constantly improve every fight out. They look a little bit better, whether it be in the striking, whether it be in the jiu-jitsu, whether it be in the grappling, the takedown defense. Every single fight out, Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev look like they have improved their skill sets. Bryce Mitchell and Movsar in particular in their last fights, their striking seemed to have grown leaps and bounds. And I know it's partial due to the fact of the threat of the grappling from both guys, but still, I mean, particularly Evloev looked amazing against Dan Ige in the striking department. I mean, he looked like he evolved so much. And I thought he primarily won that fight on the feet, if I'm remembering correctly. As far as an early prediction for this fight, this is a very tough fight to pick. But I am very high on Movsar Evloev, and I think he's the superior striker. I wonder about the gas tank. I think Bryce Mitchell has a little bit better gas tank. But I think Evloev is a good enough grappler. I mean, he's a very good grappler. I think he'll be able to stuff the takedowns of Bryce Mitchell. If Bryce Mitchell is shooting on takedowns, which I believe he will be, that's his game plan for every fight, is to take his opponent down, look for a submission, beat him up on the ground, just make it a dirty, gritty fight. And I think Movsar is going to be able to defend those takedowns. So what does that mean? That means the fight is going to be primarily contested on the feet. And I think Evloev is a far better striker than Bryce Mitchell. But Bryce Mitchell's getting better every fight out, so he could come out and surprise us in this fight. But I'll go Movsar Evloev probably by decision. I don't see him finishing Bryce Mitchell, but I see him being able to defend the takedowns and just be able to outstrike him on the feet. And I see him getting a decision win over Bryce Mitchell and moving towards the top of the ranks. You look at the rankings right now, the division's a little bit weird right now because you have Volkanovski, who's probably moving up in the near future to fight for the 155-pound title. The winner of Islam Makhachev versus Charles Oliveira, Alexander Volkanovski, is probably going to have a super fight with them. And then you have Yair, who's kind of been talked about in relation to the title. You have Josh Emmett, who's kind of been talked about in the relation to the title. But if Volk decides he's going up, they may make an interim title. They may make Yair Rodriguez, Josh Emmett for an interim title. I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen, but whoever wins this fight is going to be in an amazing position. And the other fight that was announced recently that I'm going to give you another quick breakdown and prediction is Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen. This is the main event of an October 29th fight night card. Another great fight. Makes perfect sense. You look at both guys. I mean, Calvin Kattar is number 5 in the UFC official rankings. Arnold Allen's number 6. So these are two fights that just make perfect sense when you actually look at the UFC rankings. And I know I just use them for reference, but either way, I mean, these are amazing matchups. You have Calvin Kattar, who's coming off a loss to Josh Emmett, a split decision loss that I actually thought Calvin Kattar won. For some reason, the judges gave Josh Emmett the win because he was punching the forearms of Calvin Kattar. I thought that Calvin Kattar clearly got this fight, but either way, it was close. It was competitive. So Calvin Kattar could arguably be in line for a title shot already, but he's not. And now he's fighting Arnold Allen, on a one-fight losing streak. Before that, he beat Giga Chikadze. Before that, he had that horrific beatdown courtesy of Max Holloway. But the Giga Chikadze fight, Calvin Kattar looked incredible. And, when you fight Max Holloway, who looks good against Max Holloway outside of Alexander Volkanovski? Nobody really looks good. So, that beating was almost 2 years ago. I think in January of 2023, it'll be 2 years ago. I don't know how much that really means, and it doesn't really matter anymore because Max Holloway has lost 3 times to Alexander Volkanovski. He's out of the equation. Calvin Kattar has a shot to move up and fight for that title. You have Arnold Allen, who has a very underwhelming resume. His best win is in his last fight against Dan Hooker, which was in March of this year. He absolutely destroyed Dan Hooker in the first round. But what does that really mean? Dan Hooker's kind of on the downturn of his career, and then on top of that, he cut weight to get back to featherweight after fighting at lightweight for a long time, and he said the cut was terrible for him. So, I don't know how much it really means. The next best win is the last win before that, which was against Sadiq Youssef. I mean, that's a decent win. I don't know what that really means in the grand scheme of things. But Arnold Allen has looked very good. He's very well-rounded. He's one of those guys that is super underrated. Nobody ever mentions his name, but he's been kind of inactive. He only fought once in the last 3 years, only one time. So at least, this year he's going to fight twice. And I'm looking forward to this matchup against Calvin Kattar. And this is another fight that puts you right in line for a potential #1 contender fight in your next fight. And I know the division is a little bit log-jammed, but here's what I say you do. If Volkanovski goes up to lightweight, you do Josh Emmett versus Yair Rodriguez for an interim title. Then you do the winner of Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen and the winner of Bryce Mitchell versus Movsar Evloev against each other for #1 contender. If Volk loses and comes back or wins and comes back, he fights the winner of Josh Emmett and Yair Rodriguez, who's ever the interim champion, obviously. And then the #1 contender would be the winner of the 2 fights that I mentioned, the winners of those fights going against each other, whether it be Evloev versus Kattar or Evloev versus Allen or Mitchell versus Kattar. That would be the #1 contender. And we could see that all play out in the next year or so, because, whoever wins these fights, they're not going to fight till maybe March, April of next year at best. So the timeline kind of works out. It's a little bit of a logjam. And then you have Max Holloway in there. You have Brian Ortega in there. But Brian Ortega already got demolished by Volkanovski. Max Holloway already lost 3 times. Calvin Kattar, is next really there. Josh Emmett is right there. But Josh Emmett versus Yair are the 2 next potential contenders for the title right now that are being talked about. Chan Sung Jung, he's completely done. He got absolutely destroyed by Volkanovski. I never want to see him fight for a title ever again. Giga Chikadze is coming off a loss to Calvin Kattar. Just pulled out of a fight with Sadiq Youssef. So I really think in the next year or so, we'll get a lot of clarity. But I also think that the combination of Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev, Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen are going to, in the next year, year and a half, are going to take over the top 5 of the featherweight division. I mean, they all look incredibly skilled. None of them are super old. So I really believe, you're going to see these guys hang around for a while. Whether they actually contend for a title or not, they're going to be towards the top of the division. So as far as an early prediction for Calvin Kattar versus Arnold Allen, which I didn't give you yet for some reason, I'm leaning Calvin Kattar. I think he's a better striker. Arnold Allen's still a bit of an unknown. He's looked very good, but the quality of competition is nowhere near the quality of competition that Calvin Kattar has faced. And I think this fight is going to be contested on the feet. I don't see either guy looking for a takedown, try to grapple. And I think Calvin Kattar probably beats Arnold Allen. I'll say a late finish because Calvin Kattar has amazing cardio. We don't know where Arnold Allen's cardio really is. So, Calvin Kattar, we know he's super durable. We know he's super tough. We know he can go 5 hard rounds. I see a late finish for Calvin Kattar, maybe 4th round TKO for Calvin Kattar over Arnold Allen. As the fights get closer, I'm going to dig deeper into them. I'll do full breakdown and prediction videos for both these fights. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss those videos. But I'm really looking forward to these matchups. I cannot wait. The 145-pound division is an amazing division, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it play out over the next year or so. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Who's going to win? Calvin Kattar, Arnold Allen, and Bryce Mitchell, Movsar Evloev. And how do you think the division's going to play out? I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.